toward the northeast at 17 mile per hour, and it will continue to move across central Florida throughout the night and into the early morning hours. We have seen a weakening of the storm over the last 24 hours. We also saw it sped up, which means it's hitting the Gulf Coast prior to high tide, which we hope will help mitigate some of the storm surge. You see it already developing, and there's going to continue to be storm surge both on the west coast and eventually on the east coast of Florida. And we're going to see a significant amount of rainfall on the northern part of the storm. There's already been 116 tornado warnings with 19 confirmed touchdowns throughout the state, 9 flash flood warnings, and 4 additional flood watches, with many, many more to come. Numerous counties have reported tornado damage. Peak storm surge is predicted to be between 5 and 13 feet, depending on where you are on the Gulf Coast of Florida. As of right now, the peak storm surge looks to be between the Charlotte-Lee County line up until Anna Maria Island in Manatee County. Prior to landfall, the state completed nearly 2,000 missions. Generators were sent to shelters. We have massive amounts of fuel reserves that are staged and ready to go, millions of gallons of gas. When the ports reopen, Florida Highway Patrol will be standing by to escort fuel trucks to service stations so that people will have access to fuel as they return to their homes. The Florida Department of Transportation is staged and ready to go as soon as the storm passes. They have 156 bridge inspectors, which will go to clear the bridges, 402 cut and toss personnel, and over 1,000 generators and 350 pieces of heavy equipment and trucks. We have massive amounts of search and rescue equipment and personnel standing by. And we hope that there's not a big need for that, but we're prepared for that. And that's not just our state and local, it's also our National Guard, our State Guard. We have about 9,000 National Guard personnel between Florida and other states. We also have Florida Highway Patrol, Fish and Wildlife, Department of Law Enforcement, and of course our Florida State Guard. There was a lot of questions about pre-staging linemen, which is our practice here in Florida, given that you have a lot of linemen working for Hurricane Helene in places like Georgia and North Carolina. Well, I'm happy to report that we have over 50,000 linemen that are in the state of Florida, and as soon as it's safe to do so, they will commence with power restoration. We're already seeing power outages. You're going to continue to see a lot more power outages over the course of tonight and into tomorrow morning. Now, at this point, it's too dangerous to evacuate safely, so you have to shelter in place and just hunker down. Category 3 storm for most places in Florida, particularly newer construction, likely the building is going to be able to withstand it. But if you start to get in a situation where trees are snapping, power's popping, you do have to treat it like a tornado. And then if you are in a tornado warning, that's a duck and cover in a place that's safe in your structure. Those can be very, very dangerous, even if you are inside in cover. Stay inside and stay off the roads. Floodwaters and rushing storm surge are very dangerous. And I would say that's even more so in spite of everything the state did to help these local communities hit by Helene remove a lot of debris, and they did move a lot of debris over the last 72 hours. You're going to have new debris created, and you still have some of that old debris in some of those places. So there's going to be hazards in the storm surge and in the flood waters. Stay put until the storm is passed. If you are in Sarasota, Manatee, some of those areas where the eye of the storm is going, it may be where things calm down for a minute. Just understand that means you're in the eye. It's going to go back and get really nasty very soon. So don't go outdoors until it is confirmed safe. You can listen to your local emergency management officials about that one. Power outages are going to happen, as I mentioned. So please, if you're using a generator, make sure that you're using it safely. Do not run the generator inside your home. That can be fatal. Make sure it's outside the home at a safe distance from windows and doorways. If you see dangerous conditions, please report those to your local authorities so that they can help protect people and mitigate it. So the storm is here. It's time for everybody to hunker down. I know we've got massive amounts of resources that have been prepared for this storm. People are tired because of having to deal with Hurricane Helene, and yet all I've seen is people just dig deep inside and say, we're not going to be denied, we're going to get the job done. So I really appreciate everybody that's worked so hard on the heels of Helene to prepare for this storm and to be ready to go. And you will see that in action very shortly as this storm passes. Okay, Kevin Guthrie.
Thank you, Governor, for leading us through this. Appreciate your support. Conditions across the state continue to deteriorate as Hurricane Milton approaches landfall on Florida's. No more Michael. No, sir. No, sir. As Hurricane Milton approaches landfall on Florida's west coast. Many areas are already experiencing life-threatening storm surge or life-threatening tornadoes. Please make sure if a tornado warning comes in, especially on our east coast of Florida, we have certainly had a lot of tornadic activity over there with confirmed radar signature, confirmed tornadoes. We do have Virginia Task Force 1, Ohio Task Force 1, and Miami Task Force 1 going into those areas to help with those structural collapses that have happened. We're receiving somewhere in the neighborhood, this is really, really rough numbers right now, but about 125 homes that have been destroyed, most of them mobile homes and senior communities. So we're trying to get into Florida's most vulnerable to make sure they're taken care of. If you have not already left, as I just said, as the governor just said, you need to stay inside, stay safe, and stay put. Make sure that you're getting to a central area of your home, that you're getting as low as you possibly can. That is, if you have a single-story residence and no storm surge, you want to get as low as you possibly can. I had this question asked to me earlier. Do I go to the bottom of the house if I got storm surge? The answer is no. If you've got 2 floors, you need to go to the lowest part of the 2nd floor to escape the storm surge. Please do not. If you have storm surge coming in, please just do not go to the lowest level of your home. Do not attempt to leave your home or drive during the storm. Roads may be flooded, blocked by debris, or have down power lines. Please do not risk it. If you hear, as the governor said, if you hear trees snapping, that means that there is going to be flying debris. You should seek shelter immediately and treat it as if it's a tornado. Protect yourself from flying debris by putting household items such as pillows, heavy coats, blankets on top of you. There may be a point where you think the storm is over. If it goes from absolutely horrible and terrible to absolutely nothing, then you are most likely in the eye of the tornado. Please stay in place. Do not come out. We are anticipating power outages, as the governor's already mentioned, with this storm. Take time now, if you still have power, to keep those electronic devices plugged in and keep the charge full. If you lose power and are going to use a generator for backup power, please use it safely. You've heard the governor and myself say this. Keep it 20 feet away from the doors and windows of your home. Make sure you wait 20 minutes for it to cool down before you refuel it. Make sure it's on a clean, dry surface. And then be sure to have a carbon monoxide monitor in your home. After the storm has passed your area, it is critical that you listen to local authorities for guidance on when it is safe to go outside or to return home. Do not venture out. Hazardous materials, debris, and flooding could still be present. Do not attempt to clean up the debris by yourself, especially fallen trees or power lines. If you see a dangerous condition, please report them to your local authorities utilizing your 911 lines or non-emergency lines. Residents needing information can continue to call our State Assistance Information Line, which will be open for most likely weeks. That number is 1-800-342-3557. That's 1-800-342-3557. Please follow the agency on X and Instagram at FLSERT and on Facebook at FDEM. That is the best way to go and catch up on latest up-to-date information from the division. If you do not have access to that, but you have access to the internet, please make sure you go to floridadisaster.org/updates. Floridians, we are with you. We will be with you. The state of Florida is leading the way on this charge. Please know that we're coming as fast as we possibly can. There's going to be places that we just cannot get to until the winds die down. But as I've already mentioned, there are strong winds. There are banding rains. But we have the men and women of Florida Task Force 1 out of Miami-Dade, as well as members from the Ohio and Virginia Task Force going into harm's way to help you out. We will continue to do that all night long. I will be here throughout the night along with my team. Governor, it's been a pleasure working with you to this point, but I also want to say thank you for your leadership, and I know that you're not going to go anywhere anytime soon, and I appreciate your leadership. Thank you, sir.
So we are staged with massive amounts of search and rescue assets, not just with the cities and counties and their considerable resources, all the state assets for our state agencies and National Guard, as well as urban search and rescue teams. And so we will be ready to help people who are in harm's way, and hopefully we don't have a lot. I know a lot of people did heed the call to leave, but that will be a priority to save lives. We also have a record number of people there for the restoration of power. These linemen, people love seeing the linemen coming in on the interstate. It's a great sight. They will get to work, get their power resumed as quick as possible. And then we have massive amounts of fuel on standby that we can use, but we also want to make sure these ports get up and running. I mean, we'll see what the damage is to Manatee and to Tampa. We have been discussing, and Kevin and his team have been discussing with our federal partners like the Army Corps and some of these agencies, some expectations about getting these ports back. And I think there's a difference between kind of Florida expectations, which is like we get this stuff done quick, and maybe how the federal bureaucracies have typically worked. But I think that we have had very good conversations. I think there is a sense of urgency with some of the federal agencies as well, but we want to get these ports back open as quickly as possible. We're going to have to assess some damage. Now, the track of this storm, the fact that it is Sarasota, perhaps the Port of Tampa is not going to take a major hit like it would have if it was a direct impact, but we'll see. Manatee is probably going to be a little bit closer to where it's getting some of the big impact, but we think it's really important that all services are be able to resume, and we have contingencies to be able to get fuel in where it needs to go, but it sure be a lot easier if we just get that coming into the ports. And so those are all going to be priorities from here on out. So if you are watching this, just hunker down. If you're in the path of this storm, it's dangerous outside. There's going to be a lot of hazards. Even when it passes, if there's floodwaters, be very careful about any of that. Help is on the way. We're going to get everyone back, get everyone up on their feet again, and we'll mitigate the damage as best we can.
The president said that he has spoken with you. Have you talked about getting more resources from the federal government here in the state, getting things back open?
So as I mentioned, we've been discussing with some of the federal partners about acceleration of what needs to be done, if something needs to be done on these ports. To say like, oh, it's going to be weeks for a port, no, that doesn't work. Okay, we got to get it open. And I think they're of the same mind, and I think that Kevin and our team have had good conversations. We've also, Kevin, I know, is talking, both Kevin and I talk with the FEMA administrator about some of the things that we're looking for. For example, with this debris, let local governments do the debris a little bit differently so that we incentivize people to come and do it quickly. Because the way it goes now, it was hard to even get people to do their debris. You had them going other ways. It just didn't make economic sense for doing that. And a lot of the debris takes like 6 months to do, and that's just kind of been the standard. I think we showed by surging our resources, which is really unprecedented, we knocked out a lot of debris in like 72 hours. So we want to have a debris where there's incentives to do it and do it quickly. I don't want to have to even talk about this now, but we're not out of hurricane season. There is the possibility of another storm brewing, and that's going to come into the Gulf. It's possible. I hope it doesn't happen. But so we want to be able to have them with contractors and have them have things working with the FEMA reimbursements that make sense. And I think Kevin, I think Administrator Criswell has been very receptive to that, because it does. It just makes sense.
Governor, Director Guthrie, in terms of the timeline of recovery, and last time with Helene, you were able to get search and rescue units kind of out there before, if I remember correctly, before the sun even came up.
That'll happen again. Yes. So, yeah, they will do in the dark. That is totally, absolutely fine. It's just a question of making sure that it's safe for them to go out. So as soon as that storm passes, and the fact that it came in earlier than thought, that's good for the high tide, because the high tide's not here yet. I think it'll help with the surge. But it's going to mean pretty much all the rescues are going to be done in the dark in the middle of the night. But that's fine. They're going to do that. All of our folks are doing that, and they will be on target.
Since you have so many people here in the state, more than previous storms, Are you expecting things to kind of be restored quicker than previous storms? Like Helene was power back within a week. Are we expecting that even sooner, 3 days, 5 days?
Well, we need to figure out how much power is out. I mean, we just don't know, right? And so we'll see. But I thought, we didn't get hit with Dorian, but it was coming, so we prepared. I thought maybe we had reached 50 with Dorian. We didn't. We reached in the 40s. We did 40,000s for Ian in the 40s. This is the first time we've crossed 50, and so I think that that's good. I think there's a lot of people that are excited about going to work. I know Floridians really appreciate these guys when they get out there. And if you look, the fact that it's going Sarasota across, that's heavy Florida Power and Light territory. Those guys are a well-oiled machine at this. They do a really good job. A lot of their infrastructure handles the storms very well. And so a lot of times when you're talking about power restoration, if you have the people there and you go quick, you can potentially reconnect relatively quickly. If the whole thing is blown out where you have to rebuild it, it takes longer. My sense is that if it's a lot of FPL stuff, their infrastructure probably going to be able to weather a lot of this, so they'll have to do some reconnects, but maybe not a full rebuild. Fort Myers Beach for Hurricane Ian was FPL, and they could have gotten the power back on very quickly. It was too dangerous to hook it up because of the homes with the storm surge, but their substations actually did pretty good. So I think it remains to be seen with that. Now, in terms of the search and rescue personnel, I'd like nothing better than to be here tomorrow night telling you we're sending all of it back to the States. I would love that, to say, you know what? We did whatever we needed to do, just like Helene, and then 12, 24 hours later, it was fine. Thank you, and you